Hi, it's the 12th of the 12th, 2019, and I am Paula Wicks, and I'm speaking with you from New Zealand, Aotearoa. Listen, I'm super excited today. I've had four concepts present themselves to me this morning in my preparation for the day, and two of them I think are so key, and it's called Sara, and the other one is gathering. Now, Sara is an amazing healing oil that was designed specifically for people who had been through trauma, repeated abuse, or spiritual misconduct. And I love Sara. Sara is an oil that I use personally, and I actually recommend a lot with my clients. I find it very, very gentle. It helps wrap you in a supportive, loving cocoon and just unlocks trapped emotion that is what takes place when there is spiritual or emotional abuse, especially sexual abuse, which actually comes in and binds up often the identity and disconnects from the child, from the inner child. So Sara is a very, very popular oil. Those who work with me, I give protocols of how to use that. So that's that one. The other one was gathering. Gathering is super, super cool, and I really enjoy gathering. I spend a lot of time in study, meditation, prayer, and so often I can be out there. Gathering just helps me center myself, anchor back in for the day, set my focus, my thoughts, and my intents, and reconnect with my heart. So I think that's why gathering, I love the smell, and Sara work so well together, especially if there has been trauma that's called fracturing and a disassociation has taken place. Now, sometimes that can happen spiritually and with people who are very sensitive to the spirit, who spend a lot of time in imaginations in the prophetic realm. So the prophetic realm opens up areas of possibility. So it's very easy to actually live an ascended life, but sometimes there can be a disconnect from your body. So it's actually about coming back in and being grounded. Okay, and that oil is brilliant for that. So now memory is the scribe of the soul. Aristotle said, but also what we've learned and what science is finding out is your body is a recorder. So often when we're in fight or flight or survival mode, we suppress and push down to deal with later. Okay, so our body is like a filing system, and it stores that, whether it's put it into a pain area in a body or like a filing or a mental tab. Okay, but your body will bring to the surface when it's time to deal with matters. So sometimes this is why people can be triggered, and all of a sudden there can be a remembrance of past issues, past experiences, or it can be just like your rubbish bag is so full, the lid just won't go down anymore, and it is popping, and all of a sudden all this stuff is coming out, and you're wondering if you're losing your mind. You're not. What's basically happening is it's your time to purge, it's your time to cleanse, it's your time to detox and reset. And collectively, that is such a movement that's taking place at the moment. So we want to do this with ease, and we want to do this with grace and activate grace as a living principle that undergirds our life, so that what needs to be resolved and reconciled can be done in a loving and caring way that isn't actually going to completely dismantle and destroy your life. And again, I work with those protocols. I work with natural and spiritual principles that govern our life. And, you know, when that record has come up, sometimes we think it's, you know, the devil or the enemy, and it's not. It's just, it's God's hand it's time. And he always reveals to heal. And often this is the door that is being framed, because what we leave behind when we cross and pass over and into and through, we actually shift dimensionally. So this is what we talk about: traveling light, unpacking. You can do that on a cosmic level, which is fantastic. So when this sort of ministry happens, everything shifts, everything changes, and yet nothing shifts at the same time, because you are who you are, but you are becoming authentic and true to living who you are. Okay, and that's the other thing why I'm passionate about helping people that have been through these sort of things. I am a administrator, so I'm really comfortable in those realms. And the other thing too is, whether we realize it or not, mindsets affect the way we walk, the foundations of our life, health and finances. Those are the two pillars. They are the legs that we build our life on. And if we can't be carried forward, and there's stuff that's been caught up and trapped there, then we're just not going to be prospering or living that abundant, wealthy, whole life. Okay, so this is what that's about. So everything has a pattern, everything has a seed, everything has a harvest time. Sorry, I'm just having a delivery and I'm just seeing if I need to have that signed for. I've been sorting out my orders. No, we're all good. And Christmas, busy time. So I'm about to place some more orders for Sara. They're great delivery. They get here in about 4 days. Right, so where was I? So present time was the other oil that came to mind. And I love that. So especially around this time, there's a lot of family issues. There's a lot of historical, emotional charge on some of those things. And your mind can be worried, okay? And that's also connected in to the pattern and the record of that time and seed. So whether we realize it or not, until we cut it off and garden our mind and heart, our words and thoughts are being affected. And that's why so many people find around this time really, really difficult, because there's a lot of triggering, there's a lot of offense, and you know, you've got to learn how to step over that. And there can be deep, deep hurts that rise to the surface that haven't been resolved, because everyone wants to be loved, everyone wants to be included. And we went through a time and a season, and it was a spiritual practice within the church that, you know, you would be rejected by your family. So a lot of people actually carry the desire for reconciliation. They've spent years praying, doing the spiritual work, to see the fruit of it in their lives, and then they wait and rest on the stillness where God moves on their behalf. And at the moment, there's a whole lot of people that are coming into times of reconciliation, which are fantastic. But we have to show up. We have to be fully present. We can't come with our baggage. Okay, we can't come with an axe to grind. We have to be willing to be prepared to accept the renegotiation of a modern, current, now relationship. In the present age that we are, we can't be connecting when we were 14. You know, if there's hurts and offense and rebellion and jealousy and wanting to fight, or everything is sarky, because sarcasm tears and rips the flesh and rips at the heart, and it causes a disconnect because it's breaking trust. Okay, and we don't cast our pearls before swine. So we're aware of the dynamics, and that is where present time is so great, especially for those that are very, very busy running in their lives, multiple concepts, possibility realms, especially if you are working in that witty invention, new technology. Sometimes you just got to come in and be present and stay you know, our love stays. And that is governance. You know, we master ourselves and we govern our lives and we walk in power with wisdom and love. But it is under control. It's like sitting in your seat on a beautiful horse, reins in your hands, you're nice and relaxed, but everything is in perfect harmony and there's no pulling at the bit. And sometimes when you've been walking through a lot of processes and chatter, it can take a bit of energy to pull in the reins, especially if the horse has been running away like a Pegasus. Okay, and the Pegasus was the flying horse, for those who don't know, and all of those things I can talk about. So we get to choose what state we remain in. So a lot of people don't realize that sexual sin, which is abuses, can travel, if it's been an incestuous line, can travel down for 10 generations. What that does is that it affects the mindset, the behaviors, and the patterns of a home environment. There's normally code of conduct, there's secrecy, there is a mute silencing spirit that locks up and can cause a deaf and dumb, okay? And often codependency, there's addiction, and obviously, like I said, trust issues. But I'm going to just put a little bit of present time there. We get to choose what state, what domain, what dominion we remain in, okay? Whether we're going to be in torment or ease, whether we're going to be, our mind will be our enemy or friend, whether we believe we're cursed or blessed, whether our emotional pain leaks or whether we enjoy and can enjoy and gather the strength of joy to enjoy our lives and gain the strength that is there as we get connected to the frequency and the sound. And remember, laughter is such a dynamic key. Not every argument, especially when somebody's baiting you, you don't even need to go there. Sometimes the crackling of laughter just shatters that glass ceiling, okay? Because it's an old paradigm. So people who have been locked up in an emotional prison, and we see this a lot, you can be going through decades, years at church, but haven't come into breakthrough, haven't come into liberty, haven't come into freedom, haven't come into the joy of the song that is within you. So I just want to tell you, freedom is there, hope, liberty, all of this is possible, but you want to get connected with those that carry the fruit. Okay, and obviously I do all of these. You can book in with me for a session. I am happy to put together a program for you, or create a blend that's actually going to fit your personalized situation, especially if you aren't able to invest in your own wellness products and are looking for a roll-on instead. So what does a roll-on look like? A roll-on is a little bottle like this or smaller. You can use it as a perfume, a fragrance, but it's medicinal as well. And I'm not going to go into the science now, but you know, there's prayer and oil and life principles. When you need a miracle, especially if you're over talking therapy, sometimes it's really, really good to try something new. Okay, so White Angelica was the last one to present itself to me this morning. Oh, gosh, I love this. So this is fantastic for empaths. So empaths are people who pick up on atmospheres and the waves that other people are giving off. Sometimes people aren't even aware that they're shooting daggers at you. and that's their own internal dialogue. It might be coming out of rejection, competition, whatever. And I use this a lot if I'm around a lot of people, because I give out so much. And I can be like a magnet. People just love me. They'll come up, they'll tell me all their secrets, and you know, that's part of the grace gift that is with me, because the Lord enables a trusted friend, and there just seems to be a magnetic attraction. And the other thing too is you're carrying hope, you're carrying life, you're carrying life. When I first spoke in a public setting regarding oils, I actually ended up with a new client, and she contacted me and she said she didn't know necessarily what it was that I was saying, but everything within her was reacting. She literally was resonating with the words of life that I was speaking, and her body at a cellular level was vibrating. And so she sought me out and she asked what was it, and could she come in and have some time with me. And we booked her a session. So White Angelica, and I talked about, you know, other people's monkeys and their circus, can stay over there. So I would wear this, I would put that actually on my shoulders. Okay, so, and this is an emotional clearing blend. It's great for ministry in itself. So all of these oils are standalone. These four presented themselves as a protocol. So I'm just, I'm in the process of doing first fruits and firing now off some quick insightful videos, and possibly writing down, because once I start writing, it's pages and pages and pages of information and knowledge that's coming out. You're getting the benefit of years of study. Okay, what else? So boundaries. So your boundary, your energetic system, your life that is being sustained and supplied out of grace by the field of life. Okay, you actually can feel that, and empaths know what I mean by that. And this is why we lift our hands. You can actually feel the tingling. So people who work with laying on of hands type ministry, healers, that sort of thing, light workers, White Angelica is fantastic for you, especially if you go into situations where you can start feeling the pull of people's expectations and their needs. And this is just a nice way of maintaining your core balance, your central theme, knowing that what you're picking up emotionally isn't actually yours, it's staying out there. And that's referencing the circus and the monkeys. So in this dynamic, because we're actually coming into principles that transform and shift, sometimes you can become aware of a sensation, and that's called a body word of knowledge or a body awareness. Okay, and this is the other thing about being present, because often when people come, they can be revolving doors cycling through various ages, and they're actually not present. So when you become discerning, you can actually gather and work out who you're speaking with and bring them into rest. Especially if there's been a lot of warfare around their life, a lot of trial and tribulation, it wearies the soul. So you have to remember, people are not our enemies, but there are principalities out there that want to keep you striving in war, keep you out of rest, because if you can't sleep, and you have no rest, and you can't enter into the grace of the fullness of God. And also in that realm is rejuvenating aspects and qualities. And that's another principle that I love working with the oils, because they're living, and you can set your intent, and obviously recode is so effective. And you know, there's an amazing scripture which is a book called Jeremiah, And there was this principle that this man was given. So he was given divine insight, supernaturally. It was poured into him and it illuminated him. And that terminology is often called honey or oil or revelation. But the principles, the technology that was given was the insight and knowing how to dismantle things that had erected themselves as a stronghold against a person or a city. And then also how to rebuild, re-establish, re-edify and re-speak. So we're actually framing. And so I find that a lot of people can be quite good at the breaking down or the dismantling, but then they get caught up in a circle and a repeat pattern until that hook comes out. They just keep going around and around the mountain. You know, because you've got to snip, 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 and then you've actually got to re-establish with your mouth being in one mind and heart, an authentic voice coming forth. So we had scammers calling around, you know, making out that they were from banks or internet service companies and stuff like that. And I went into the bank. I hardly ever go into the bank. And he asked if I wanted to, you know, do a security question, which was a protocol. It was a high-level security protocol. And I was like, oh, I quite like this because I'm all about security. And the phrase was this: my voice confirms my identity. My voice confirms my identity. Your voice, your authentic voice, has a sound, a print, a texture, a tone, and a note. It is a sound key that unlocks the provision for your life. But when we're wobbling, we don't actually realize who we are. And this is why I love working in this area. And it's one of my passions. And it's a desire fulfilled from very early in my life. So remember again, the two pillars, your two legs: health and finances. So the trouble between your mind, your emotion, your will, your patterns, your thoughts, your beliefs, if you've got an internal conflict, an inner war, and it's a battleground, often in Christian circles, we've actually been trained in the past, in the age of war, to look into darkness, and it creates a suspicion. Okay, so it's looking for things that are rising up, and you're constantly in fight or flight mode, because just as the memory is the scribe of the soul, and I said before, your body records emotionally every event in your life. Well, if you're seeing, if that's your gifting, but you've been trained and locked into a camp and a technology where you're constantly seeing horrific horror image, it actually does get a fright. And that's one of my pet peeves on Facebook, and that's the other thing for Angelica, and it's knowing how to gird your vision center. So like sometimes, because I have a community of light and ease and grace and love and value and honor and edification, and everyone is for you, we're not against, and I just love that. So I open myself up like double doors, and I'll be scrolling through reading something and I'm like, yeah, I partner with that, I agree with that, oh my God, this is so good, it's nourishing, it's feeding me, and then bam, out of nowhere comes this visual assault, and I'm like, seriously, how do I just tone that one down? So And I seriously am beginning to wonder, because they're so random, but it's the same reoccurring theme. And I'm like, okay, first in the spirit. For me, I do things first in the spirit, then I establish it in the natural. So, doors of hope and liberty. You can reset what has troubled you in the past and rename it. We are not defined by our story, but we can be very much alive in it. And sometimes we just got to close that chapter out and let it go. You know, Anthony Robbins, or Tony Robbins, has that very famous saying, divorce your story, marry your truth. But part of that is you actually have to know what your truth is and live authentically. You know, and this is where, if you have come out of childhood trauma, which is where Sara is so good, or you've been in a cult, or satanic ritual abuse, or in a systematic, repeated authoritarian spiritual domination. Beautiful, 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 beautiful oil. Very, very healing and gentle. And part of that is naming and catching your thief, so that we can then rename, reestablish, take dominion, step into our territory, be authentic, know who we are and what is actually within our hearts to do, what our contribution to society is. So my medicine that has come from, you know, that saying, when life gives you lemons, make the best lemonade ever. Well, teaching was the original coupling with doctors. Okay, so that's why holistic wellness is coming to the forefront. It's like a wave, a surging, and people are very, very interested, because they're wanting to step away from the pharmakeia, which actually may just medicate the symptoms, but it's coming into a textbook locking where they actually don't believe that people can be healed. Whereas if you're believing in miracles, if you're believing that you have authority and you can be empowered to change your life, then obviously you want to be working with different principles. Both complement each other, but if you come off antidepressants without releasing the emotional charge and actually just recoding that record, then things do, you know, can be a bit wobbly and unstable for you. And why do that? You know, it's all about loving yourself, enjoying your life, and doing what works for you, and girding yourself and your family so you can live your best authentic self and just shine your truth. Okay. And okay, so that's the 12th of the 12th, 2019. 12 and 12 speaks about government. Okay, government is ruling, reigning authority, which is why I was talking about dominions. So coming out of a domain that has caused trouble and has been a hard place for you, coming into a domain that is governed by light and love and joy and ease, and is under the principles of grace. Great, great grace. So there you go. I just wanted to jump on quickly. I've probably gone a little bit longer than I thought I would, because once I get talking, that was free flow. Away I go. So anyway, Paula Wicks, and you can email me at hope@heartworks.life. I have a YouTube channel. I have a SoundCloud. I also take bookings, and at the moment, being over the Christmas family holiday period, I'm doing a special offer, because just to support and undergird people, I understand what it's like at this time of year. So if you're feeling you just need a little bit quick cleanup, then feel free to contact me, private message me. If you want to know more about the oils, contact me. And the other thing too is if you're wanting something like a sample or a blend specifically designed for you, then I am really happy to do a free consult. We can talk about your needs, and I will come back to you and let you know what I feel out of divine inspiration is actually going to be a good match and serve and undergird you. And I will also put that together with an affirmation for you. Okay, God bless. Oh, so I will be doing very quick podcast sound bites, just first fruits for 2020. Clarity and vision and focus is the frame for our year. God bless.